Mm-hmm. What's up, anybody who's listening? I wouldn't say I read this, but I was listening to a pretty good audiobook on YouTube, Science of Getting Rich, and I thought it was pretty good. Now, while there were certain things that were kind of off to me and I didn't really get too much, there was other aspects to the book that really resonated with me. So I thought I'd share those aspects of the book with you guys. Whoever's listening. Mm-hmm. 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 So yeah, chapter 10, further use of the will. I thought this was pretty good. If you want to focus on making money and getting ahead in life, getting rich, then one of the things you want to try and focus on, or try to not focus on, is poverty. Or try to learn how to block uh, the poverty mindset out of your head. Because thinking about poverty, talking about it, and doing all this sort of stuff isn't going to help you get further ahead and make money. In fact, it's actually going to have like a bleeding effect. The more you think about poverty, the more you talk about it, the more you look at things of poverty, that ends up bleeding over into you and ends up making it become true in your life. As such, you end up, getting into the poverty mindset. And as such, get into poverty. If you want to get rich, if you want to start making money, you want to get into a money making mindset or money mindset. Mhm, mhm, mhm. Yeah, a lot of people often think that they don't have any options to make money, but in reality, a lot of people just aren't resourceful enough. Hmm. 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 Yeah, that's another thing when it comes to like making a lot of plans to try to make money. Different, coming up with different theories on what to do. People often do that sort of thing, and they end up getting lost in it and not really be able to do anything. God damn it! I need something else. 'Cause this shit is annoying. Huh? What the hell? Mm-hmm. This shit don't work. Mm-hmm. Yeah, when it comes to people making money, a lot of people like to get competitive, like competition spurs the growth of the industry and all that stuff. You know what people mean. Like competition's good for yeah, a lot of people just often think that competition is naturally good. And it is, but uh, the science of getting rich says that instead of trying to be competitive, you want to be in a more creative mindset. Not to be in a competitive mindset, but to be in a creative mindset. And what I mean by that is instead of trying to um, get ahead of the other person and be the best there is and whatnot, try to get to the head of the line, be the first. Instead of trying to be competitive and trying to beat everybody else, you have to, becoming rich becomes a lot easier when you're trying to focus more on the creative aspect, just creating, just doing, just being in it for what it is. Like a lot of people say, you have to really enjoy the process if you're going to, like, if you're going to do YouTube as a business. Some people have a pretty hard time doing the whole YouTube thing. That would include myself. But if you don't enjoy doing this kind of thing, then it really isn't. You probably want to like. You probably really shouldn't even do it because if you don't enjoy it, that's going to show in your face. That's going to show in your lack of enthusiasm. You're going to sound like a boring robot the whole time, and you're not really going to come up with interesting content that other people want to see. So because of that, you want to try to, if you're going to do the whole YouTube thing, you're going to want to do it in a way in which you can enjoy it. Because if you're enjoying the YouTube process, then you get enthusiastic about what you're doing, about the content you're creating and stuff like that, talking about what you enjoy doing. And once people see how enthusiastic you are about what it is you're doing on YouTube, people will want to watch, they'll subscribe, they'll buy your products, they'll basically do whatever the heck supports you, which is how you end up making a living on YouTube. That's the kind of thing you want to do if you intend on doing YouTube as a business. Hmm? Yeah. Hmm? Whatever. Tiring. Oh, what am I talking about on here? I hate this shit. Like, what is this bullshit? No, I want to talk about what I think I want to talk about. Seriously. Mm. Oh my God, yes. Armored Core. I love this game. This one is, let me see here. Armored Core Nexus is the third generation in the PlayStation series of the Armored Core series. And let me see here. That is. Mhm. Yeah, this is the. Yeah, this one is in the third generation. But because it goes Armored Core 1, Armored Core 2. There are a lot of like side games underneath those. Like I think it's like Armored Core to Another Age. Like a kind of like a side game, but it's still Armored Core 2. This is basically like Armored Core 3, but in the I think this is like the third one, because first it was Armored Core. I'm pretty sure it was Armored Core 3. Then Armored Core Silent Line. And then Armored Core Nexus. And then after this, it would be Armored Core. What do you call it? Not Nexus. It's Armored Core Last Raven. That's it. So yeah, with this one right here, and this might actually be the first Armored Core game I actually fully completed. Because the other one that I had prior to this was Armored Core Another Age. And that I was probably too young to really understand how the full mechanics worked. Mhm. By that point, it was like a bit too much for me to understand. I think I played that around when I was like about 8 or 7. Yeah, about that. Hmm. So you're talking about Armored Core Nexus here. Hmm. Yeah, when it comes to the graphics, they're overall pretty good. For a PlayStation 2 game in for the mid 2000s, this was really good. Very realistic, very close to like the Gundam titles around that time. Um, I would say that for this one, it had a lot of. Hmm. Oh yeah, that's one of the things I liked about these. Armored Core has a thing that I like in the game in the how to do the story modes. Is that often the missions that you take determine um, how the game ends up. There's often like multiple endings in these in the Armored Core games, and of course this one has. Let me see. I think it was two. I think it was either 2 or 3 endings that this one had. Good ending, bad ending, and in fact, I don't even think it was a good ending. Um, in fact, I think it was just 2. I think it was like a neutral ending and a bad ending or something like that. But anyway, this thing had a lot of unique environments. Um, and it was also one of the first times they were using dual analog support. So you could actually use both analog sticks to move around and turn around the camera at the same time. Yeah, prior to that, in the older games, you'd have to use the directional pad uh, and the R1 and L1 and R2 and L2 buttons. You'd have to use all of those to actually turn and move, which was, in all honesty, very difficult for me. It was not easy to do. I was able to do it a little bit, but I really do prefer the dual analog stick thing, that way of control, because it's just so much more simpler, especially in the newer Armored Core games. Well, the last ones that they made for Armored Core 4 and 4 Answer, dual analog support's the normal thing that they go for. hmm So yeah, there was a lot of missions in this game. I think between both discs, it had about like 150 missions. Oof, that's a lot. Over 40 arena opponents and 14 versus battle maps, and over 400 total parts. And yeah, that's another great thing about the Armored Core series. You'd have a lot of different customizable parts to choose from. hmm A lot of which would actually cross over between the games, like between Armored Core 1 and Armored Core 2 and whatnot. They'd end up showing up in this game. hmm So when it comes to this one in particular, oh, there are two discs in here. The Evolution disc, that's basically the standard game, furthering the story of the Armored Core series. And the Revolution disc, that one is a graphically overhauled like remake of older missions in the series that were updated for this one. So they mostly like cherry picked certain missions from the older series and put them in this one. It was really cool. hmm You have to graphically overhaul the missions from the PS1 era and early PlayStation era. And they also had a bunch of like little artwork things too for it for the older games. So that was cool. hmm 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 Yeah, I have a very destructive build in this game too, by the way. Very simple but very effective. hmm Ah. hmm And wow, this is actually one of the only freaking games that I actually have the manual for. Freaking game manuals. Can you believe they exist? Mm-hmm. Hmm. Huh. So yeah, one of the main things when it comes to the Armored Core series is that it's pretty it can be a little complicated if you don't know what you're doing, but once you have a proper understanding, it shouldn't be too hard. One of the main things you have is basically your HP, or in this game is called AP, armor points. That basically means how many hits you can overall take throughout the course of the mission before game over and you die. Depending on the type of AC that you use, it'll determine how much overall AP you have. Yeah, heavyweight ACs and middleweight ones, certain middleweight ones have a lot more AP, while lighter ACs have a lot less AP. But they make up for the lack of AP with a lot more speed. Whereas heavier ACs are a lot more sluggish and a lot slower. So while they can take or like can take a lot more hits, they're they have a much harder time dodging. Hmm. Yeah, one of the main things I didn't particularly care for in the Armored Core Nexus game, and I heard it's not as bad in the other games before or after this one, is the heating system. Often when you'd use too much energy, well, not even energy, if your AC doesn't have proper cooling, your AC would overheat from boosting or taking too many hits. And because of that, and when you overheat, you would gradually, well, not even gradually, quickly lose a ton of energy. And it was the absolute worst in this game because you'd overheat just pretty much on the drop of a hat. So a lot of the fights in this game, especially when getting hit with a lot of the weapons in this game, they have a lot of high attack heat. So when you get hit in this game, you'd often overheat and then lose a lot of energy. So a lot of the fights in the game were very well, basically like a war of attrition. Whoever gets the most hits first kind of got the other person to overheat. They wouldn't be able to move, and then they die. That's one of the main things I. That's one of the things that I don't like about the game, but it's kind of like a minor thing. Overall, I would say I enjoy Nexus quite a bit. Oh yeah, I would certainly say so. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, one method that I've been using to try to focus a lot more recently is the Pomodoro Technique or Paradomo thing. I forget what you call it. Well, yeah, it's Pomodoro. But anyway, the main reason that you would want to use it is to try and balance your try to strengthen your focus muscle because that's the whole thing. That's what focusing really is. It's just like a muscle, and like any muscle, you have to build it. If you try to focus for too long on one specific thing, you end up straining that muscle, and you basically are completely unable to focus on a scattered brain about just about everything. So the Pomodoro technique is basically you focusing on whatever the heck you need to focus on for about at least 30 minutes. I think it was 25 minutes. Yeah. So you would focus on whatever you need to focus on for a good 25 minutes. And then after those 25 minutes are up, and you'd have like a timer or something to, you'd know when to stop. What you would do is take a 5-minute break. So that way you can get your brain to relax a bit and not focus. This will end up relieving any of that strain that you may have to try and focus all the time for long periods of time. Having that break really would help you. Now, after that 5 or 10 minute break is up, you just start the timer again, and you would start working again for about a good 30 to 25 minutes. Found that it's effective because apparently the human brain, while certain people can focus for long periods of time, um, not everybody really works the same way like that. People often have to like work their way up to something that they're not really accustomed to. So if you want to be able to work for like an hour straight, or 2 hours, or 3 hours, or even 4 hours straight, you want to be able to like gradually work your way up to that. And the best way to do that, I would say, is through the Pomodoro Technique. Now, you don't have to be as rigid with it as, sticking exactly with what I prescribed, like 25 minutes of working and then 5 minutes of a break. Because for some people, 5 minutes of a break just seems like too little. I mean, what they can really do in 5 minutes? Like what? Watch a YouTube video or pick your nose or something like that? You can't really do much. So I find that for myself, a good medium for the break for me is either 10 minutes or 20 minutes. That way I feel like I get an ample amount of time of, to just relax. And then after those, and then after that time's up, I just get back into work. So if you're gonna have like a 10-minute break, I'd recommend working for 30 minutes. And if you're gonna be taking a break for 20 minutes, I'd recommend working for like 45 minutes to an hour. And you want to have the majority of the time like working, and then just take a little break to refresh your brain. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I found the Pomodoro technique really helps you, can really help you focus. Mm-hmm. All right. Mm-hmm. So yeah, one important thing I was learning about today was financial literacy. And crazy enough, people don't teach it in schools. It's crazy, but I guess people just have to learn it how it is. Anyway, is one thing to make money. I'm pretty sure that a lot of people know that old saying, to get money you have to make money. Anyway, where I was going with this? Financial literacy. Um, hmm When it comes to financial literacy, it really isn't just enough to know making money, getting a job, um, making a product and selling it and whatnot. Just doing whatever you want to do to make money. It's not enough just to know how to make money. The big part about financial literacy is not just learning how to make money, but also learning how to not just, but also learning how to keep money, and learning how to make that money make you more money. Because that's one term that I've actually learned from this other YouTuber who was apparently an accountant. Um, a lot of people know the typical thing of making their money and then saving some for like a rainy day, right? So you make money, save, make money, save. That's a good practice. But I recently learned that just saving money and not doing anything with it is a term for that. It's called dead money. Now, I mean, naturally, you do want to have like emergency, funds for like an emergency or something like that, or have money set aside for certain things. But a lot of people don't even, think or go that far with their financial plans. what you want to do with saved money, at least a good portion of it, is to turn it over and invest it in something that'll end up making you more money. So that's like buying products low, then selling it high on a different site or something like that. Um, Learning how stocks work. Um, Learning how real estate works. Things like that. Using the money that you've made and saved and investing into something that'll make you more money and give you an overall profit. Hmm. Oh man, that shit is a. It's so boring. All right. Mm-mm-mm. Oh yeah, and I genuinely love the soundtrack of the Armored Core series. It is amazing, very distinctly unique. Not even just a series. Each game in the series is very distinct. Like like Armored Core 4 and 4 Answer have a very more orchestra kind of soundtrack as opposed to the more techno and techno breakbeat kind of soundtrack that the earlier games have. Hmm. So one of the main gimmicks of the Armored Core series for the missions is that there's often like a specific objective that you have to do to complete the objective. Hmm. With a sight lock. Hmm. All right. So yeah, I'm gonna talk about the different parts of the Armored Core. AC composition. Now, number one, where you'd go to actually assemble and mix and match AC parts is in the garage. That's where you can use the money that you've made from the missions to purchase parts to mix and match yourself and make an AC for yourself. So the different parts are the back unit. You have two back units, the left back unit and the right back unit. You can switch each one by pressing the L2 button. I believe that's the standard control for the PS2 one. Yeah. In the later games, they switch it to individual left and right bumper, or L1 and R1 for the PlayStation players. Yeah, one particular thing I don't really care for in the earlier games, when it comes to the Armored Core series, is oh my gosh, what happened to my throat? My water. Damn, I need more water. All right. See, one main thing I didn't really care for in the earlier Armored Core series is the back weapons. While they are very strong and have a lot of variety to them, for whatever reason, you are completely unable to switch back and forth between your primary weapons and your back weapons. Now, it's fine if you could if that's just how it is, then that wouldn't be too big of a problem. Yeah, you'd have to stay still the entire time when you want to switch to using your back weapons. Well, actually, that's not true. You could use your back weapons, but it could only be missiles or either missiles or an orbit cannon. When it came to anything else, like a actual cannon or railgun or sniper, back-mounted sniper, you literally have no choice but to stay stationary and switch to it, which would pretty much make you a easy target. Since you pretty much can't move until you stop firing the cannon. Now, because of that, I didn't really use cannons in this game. I particularly stick to using dual guns and the EO for the core. That way, you're able to constantly keep. That's why I'm constantly able to keep shooting while moving. I don't really care for the missiles because a lot of the times they have anti-missile anti-missile countermeasures. Like they have a bunch of different flares. Yeah, mainly a lot of flares. But yeah, flares. Some kind of lasers that would pop out of the chest and take down the missiles that you fire at them, and even other missiles that would pop out only to take down other missiles. So they had multiple options of anti-missile countermeasures. So for that reason, missiles seemed like a lot more of a hassle um, than an actual benefit to using them. So the best thing for me was using projectile weapons. Blades are really strong and cool in the game as well, but because of how the blade maneuvers function in this game, or in third generation particularly, I wouldn't use it at all. Because it's only really usable on the ground, number one. And even then, there's barely any tracking. So you literally have to get up right on the target that you're trying to hit and then hit them with it. As opposed to the fourth game, where you're actually able to lock onto the target and dash towards them. And it has some kind of homing, which means if the target moves to the left, you move to the left. If the target moves a bit to the right, you move to the right. So that way there was some room for error. And on top of that, the blades in the fourth generation were also, I think, at least double the size. So when you put all of that together, it just made using blades a whole lot simpler and easier to use in that one. In the third generation, it was very difficult to use. So I didn't use it at all. Mm-hmm. 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 So yeah, when it comes to the specific parts of the AC, armored core, yeah, the head part is housing. Yeah, the head part is housing the computer. Yeah, the head part is housing the radar and sensor functions. Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of these functions actually vary from head to head. So certain heads would have biosensors, which allow you to sense particular enemies that you wouldn't normally be able to sense, and other heads would actually have a built-in radar, so you wouldn't actually need to have a radar installed on your back. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's one of the things that I actually preferred about the third generation Armored Core games. ACs were a lot more varied as opposed to just having one standard thing. Like every AC in the fourth generation had over boosting when it was a specific thing in this one. So they all had over boosting, they all had hangers, and none of them really had EO cores. So none of the cores could actually attack in tandem with your primary weapons. Yeah, the booster determines AC's dash speed and flight capabilities. The higher the boost power, the faster the AC can travel. Mm-hmm. Now, often when it came to boosters in the AC games, it was often be like a trade-off between what you could do with the boosters. Like if you want to be able to like maintain and fly in the air for long periods of time, or just in depth infinitely, you'd most likely want a booster that is most likely going to have a lower power, but because it has lower power, it has less energy cost. And because it has less energy cost, you're able to infinitely fly in the air for as long as you want. You'd be slow, but you'd be able to stay in the air infinitely. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, you'd have a extremely fast booster, but because it's extremely fast and you're able to boost at high speeds and dodge and all that stuff, you wouldn't be able to stay in the air for very long or be able to boost for that long either. So there's a trade-off, and plus it would cost a lot of energy to maintain that speed. So there's often like a trade-off with that. Mm-hmm. Oh man, I love that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's good. I'm glad. So yeah, even though you're able to mix and match and make whatever deck you want, you still want to be aware of certain stats so that you're able to actually make an AC that's worth making. Because there's a lot of things that you have to balance, like weight. Um, Particularly comes to weight. Yeah, weight and energy. If your AC doesn't have enough energy to power the whole thing, you can't use it. If everything is overweight, you can use the AC, but it's going to be extremely slow. Hmm. Hmm. Oh yeah, there were even AC part locations, hidden AC parts in the levels. That was fun. I mean, it was actually kind of annoying too because oftentimes you would go past an AC part and have no idea it's even there. So you'd end up wondering where the heck is this certain part, and you ended up passing the level, so you have to end up doing the level again from the beginning. Oh my gosh, that was so much fun. No, I need to be doing more. I need to be doing more of what I like. There are things that I have to do that I don't like, but do what you have to do. Do what you don't like to get where you want to go, or something like that. Mhm. Do what you have to do to get where you want to go. So even though you may not like what you're doing, there's something at the end of that that you definitely want or need. And if that is what I need to get out of this situation, by all means. Mm-mm-mm. Did I ever beat any of these? I don't think I did. I most certainly did not. Mm. Mm. Huh. Yep, no way. Oh yeah. Now, even though this had like a very smaller amount of weapon selection on it, it did have a lot more. Hmm, that's a good question. I actually want to know that. Now that I have a script, I should make a script. Hmm. I can talk about whatever the heck I want to talk about, but if I'm going to be able to talk for long periods of time, I need something to actually talk about. I heard Johnny mention something about a script, but mm-hmm. Oh wow, there was even online mode with this. I had no idea. Hmm. So yeah, even though this one had overall less weapons than usual for a Ratchet and Clank game, it certainly, I would say, it made up for that with the mods that it had. So because of the lesser, so despite having lesser weapons to choose from, it had more options of what to do with it. There was an electric mod, an acid mod. For specific weapons, you'd have like a lava mod um, and like an explosive mini bomb mod too. So there were a lot of different variety options when it came to the weapon selection that it had in this game. Hmm. And yeah, instead of this being the typical like going from world to world, which you do in this, but it's not really like an exploration type of thing anymore with this one. This one's all tournament combat based. Since you know the whole gladiator thing. So you just drop right into the action. This might be my favorite racing game. But you want one across view. Let me guess this at the bottom. I feel like a nice little more. Anyway. Man, I could talk about this shit all day. I mean, it would help if I had something to latch on, but So anyway, DMC Devil May Cry, one of my favorite games there are. Oof. Now, even though this may not be as technical and as extensive as the fifth game in the series, it's still very fun, and it has a pretty good amount of depth to it as well. So there are a lot of like delay combos and stuff like that. With Dante, you have multiple styles to switch between. Now you can't do it on the fly like in DMC5, but you are still able to choose from them. My personal favorite of the styles would be Swordmaster. Now, technically, Gunslinger has just as many moves, but it actually doesn't. Because for whatever reason, you don't have the special button is typically circle. With Gunslinger, you have only two options. You have the neutral circle. That's a special for the Gunslinger style. And then you would press forward circle, which would give you another option. But Swordmaster, you're able to do three. You have forward circle, neutral circle, and back circle. So that would overall give you a lot more options in what you're able to do. So preferably, I prefer Swordmaster. And yeah, I would say with DMC5, it kind of invalidates DMC4, considering the cut content from it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, this is boring my mind. Just talk, just talk, just talk. All right, I want to do that. I want to do that big time. Oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. No, but this right here is not working. Me just talking about random shit. No. If I'm going to be talking, I need to have like a script or something ready. or someone to talk to or something to talk about. Because right now I'm just pulling at straws for stuff to talk about. hmm Yeah, man. Oof. Yeah, one really fun move to learn in this is jump canceling. Now, with the basic setup default setup that they give you, it's not really easy because the jump button is X and I believe the attack button is triangle, right? The melee button. So in order to actually do that, you'd have to like claw the face buttons. That doesn't feel comfortable. It's going to make it very difficult to actually do that on the fly. Now, if you actually want to be able to jump, and it's going to feel awkward at first, but you're going to want to put the jump button on one of the shoulder buttons. It's going to feel it's going to feel really awkward at first. But once you get used to it and you're able to do it, which I'm able to do, you're able to jump and constantly keep attacking at the same time. So that way you'd be able to constantly jump cancel. Now, while you're not, constantly getting up your style meter that way, constantly doing the same attack again and again, it does have its benefits by basically being able to do like a lot of being able to do a lot more damage in the air than you normally be able to keep you up in the air when there's something you don't want to really drop down back into. Like if there's a huge multitude of enemies below you and you don't want to drop down, you could just jump cancel and stay on top of the enemy. So yeah, knowing how to jump cancel really opens up a lot more versatility to the gameplay than it was, already there. Mm. Man, I'd probably say I'm probably the most boring YouTuber there probably would be. Ugh. Anyway. Oh man, that's cool. Yeah, when it comes to this, I play the PSP version. What the hell? Get the PSP version, I'm tired. Nah. Now, when people do that sort of thing, they're often doing something. If they're making a video, they have a script ready. If they're live streaming something of interest. I'm sure some people are just able to talk it out, but I'm like, eh. The only thing I'd just be able to talk about right off the bat is this. Staying engaged for your 50-year work life. Tapping into deeper values and all that junk. Learning how to balance your work, home, and community life and yourself. It is not easy. But you must learn.